Welcome back, everybody, to our electric vehicle car shopping / hunting video series. To do a quick recap, we've already talked about our experience with the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and now we are moving to a brand that we personally have the most experience with through basically, well, essentially, my professional career at Tesla and just really getting a good hands-on experience with these vehicles. So for this episode, we are going to be talking about the Tesla Model Y and Tesla Model 3. So we've had some experience with the Model 3 in the past. You know, we have a lot of friends that have them, but the Model Y was a new vehicle that we have yet to had experience with in terms of driving. Obviously, the Model 3 and the Model Y share a very similar platform, and they share a lot of the same characteristics. But with the Model Y being an SUV, we were curious to test it and compare it to our other vehicles that we have on this list. So, do you want to start with the pros?
Let's do it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So, for the pros for the Model Y, I think the number one pro that we could find that we already knew about just having a Tesla in general is the supercharger network. It's very, very important to us because we're obviously crossing the country to live on the West Coast, you know, within the year. So being able to get to the next charger and actually having a really great route planner embedded in the car is really important to us. Supercharger network is obviously so vast, it's all over the country, you know, so it would be so easy, and that is a huge plus for us, the supercharger network.
Yeah, I mean, Tesla is opening up superchargers left and right here in the United States as well as Canada. It's just crazy how frequently they're opening up a new station. So that would be probably the biggest selling point for us at the moment with the Teslas, is just the easy access to a vast network of very fast charging stations. But besides that, the Model Y is very, very roomy. That was one thing. That was one thing, obviously, on this list. You know, we really are looking for vehicles that have large amounts of storage space, so we can put our luggage as well as like our dog toys and like their dog food, and just places that we can make sure that we have a comfortable ride, but plenty of space to bring all the necessities across country with us. And that was one thing that the Model Y offered. I mean, the seats fold totally flat. You have this cavernous space underneath the floor of the trunk.
It's huge.
As well as around the wheel wells, there's big pockets there, and then you have the front trunk, or the frunk, which just offers a ton of cargo space, which is nice. And then in terms of roominess in the interior, this is one of the cons that we have. The front row did feel a little bit tight, but the back seat had an immense amount of headroom as well as legroom, thanks to the skateboard platform, where it's just a flat floor. So I was pretty impressed with just how much room the Model Y has. It
was nice. And kind of along the same lines as that, you know, we've driven every variation of the Model 3. We only drove the long range Model Y. We're not interested in the performance. That's just out of our price range. The long range Model Y is kind of at the top end of our price range. You know, whenever we spec it out. We did drive the one with the 19-inch wheels because I believe that they call them the Geminis. And we just didn't want the 20s. I didn't want the induction. You know, and honestly, we're not used to so much power in a car. You know, our rear-wheel drive ID4 only has 200 horsepower. Our Bolt is about the same. So when we drove the Model Y long range, I'm like, wow, this has a lot of power. It was really good for just a dual motor, just, you know, long range car. It wasn't even the performance, and it had plenty of power no matter what, even passing power on the highway.
Oh yeah, I mean,
so good.
I believe the 0 to 60 time for the long range is sub 5 seconds. And you can feel it. I mean, it definitely, it brings, I always call it the Tesla smile to people's faces. And when we drove this vehicle and got on the highway, it was just that Tesla smile, which is something that I am very familiar with working at Tesla and just being around the cars. There will always be the Tesla smile. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And comparing it to the Bolt, there was just an immense amount of power. Like, you can't even compare the vehicles there. So that is one pro, is that even with the long range Model Y, you should feel confident, and we feel confident that there is enough power to do whatever maneuverability that we need to. So pretty happy with that.
And then last pro for our list, this kind of surprised us, just being around Teslas for so long. The build quality of this Model Y was actually really good.
Yes.
It was really good.
Yeah, and I know that that's kind of like the joke online is that like Teslas have bad build quality. And from our experience with new and recent build Model 3s as well as this Model Y we experienced, the quality was there. I mean, like we didn't hear any rattles. We did hear a rattle, but it did turn out to be some ice that had froze between the taillight and the trunk or the hatch. Which we ended up knocking loose, and then the rest of the ride was totally solid. The materials on the dash, the panel gaps that everybody makes fun of, that was non-existent. Like there was no panel gaps that we've noticed. So the build quality was there, which really impressed me. But to get into some of the cons, we did notice that it was fairly tight up front in the front row, and I really think that it's because it has like a really wide center console that goes underneath the touchscreen, and then it just kind of creates a separate space for the passenger and for the driver. And the one other thing that we noticed is that in the passenger seat, I thought that like the seat was broken and it wouldn't go down all the way. Turns out it was down all the way.
It was down.
It was just still up. And when I first sat, I was like, whoa, that's very, forward and very high up, and I was not a big fan of that. But the driver's seat we were able to find a very comfortable seating position.
Definitely. And kind of like when we were driving the Model Y, here in Cleveland, we have a mix of roads. We have concrete, we have asphalt, and then we also have potholes. So that's our third form of roads, to be honest.
It's like driving on the moon.
It is. There are some roads that are like driving on the moon. There are other ones that are smooth, and I don't know how they're smooth, to be honest, either. That was kind of a con for us, is we noticed we were on the 19s. There was way too much road noise, even though the front windows are double insulated. To be honest, our ID4 is so much quieter and so much more comfortable than the Model Y. The Model Y to us was way too bouncy. It was way too firm. You felt every impact. You heard every impact that you hit on a pothole or even a crack in the road. It was just, but once we got on the highway, to a certain section of the highway that was actually freshly paved last year, it was very smooth riding.
Yes.
But that is an anomaly here in Ohio because we don't have roads like that normally. So every other road that we drove on was it was really loud. The tires were too loud in our opinion. I don't know if it was just the type of tires that Tesla's putting on their cars, but they were a lot louder than our winter tires on our ID4.
Yeah, and one thing to say too is that when we drove the vehicle, it was about 24-ish degrees, so maybe the tires were just cold. The battery pack we noticed was cold, so we didn't get a chance to experience the one pedal driving that we're used to. I mean, to an extent we got to, but the battery pack definitely was not warmed up enough. And then, to kind of reiterate all the potholes, where the Tesla store is here in Cleveland, the road is cement, and it was very bumpy. And in fact, the very first moment we turned on the road, I looked at Tyler, I was like, I don't like this. But then we got onto a road that was tar and not cement, and it was very smooth.
It was very, very smooth.
But the thing is that the road was freshly done, so it was very smooth in that aspect. And then the rest of the test drive was fairly good in terms of the suspension. But then the moment we hit that cement road again, it was rough.
It was rough.
And I would say that would probably have to be our biggest con with the Model Y, is that the suspension definitely needs improved.
It does.
There are rumors that eventually they are going to bring an air suspension to the Model Y and Model 3. But at this time, if you're looking for a vehicle that is more guided towards the softer aspects of driving,
that's not it.
It's not it.
It's not it.
And that is a big con for us, is how it handles. And then the last con, and this goes back to Tyler's professional career, is user interface design and the user experience. With Tesla's most recent software version, they did a total overhaul of the touchscreen and how the driver interacts with the software, and they just did a terrible job with it. I personally think that they need to go back to what it was and then revamp that instead of going a few steps back with this current design, because it just was very confusing trying to figure out where things were. With this being more of a touch-free test drive, we really didn't get a chance to have somebody sit in the car with us and go through the different menus and how to like configure the vehicle, and it just left a lot of confusion for us.
It did.
I mean, by the end of the test drive, I did feel confident with like where the necessities were, like the air, like the temperature, the volume, and like how to kind of configure some of the vehicle, but the rest were just hidden in menus. And when you're driving, that's just not safe.
It's not safe. And there was too many, to me, like there's too many button clicks to get where you need to. I know a lot of people have complained about that for like the heated seats, and then also for some of the controls for like the mirror and the steering wheel, and there's just too many clicks for me. It needs to be, maybe 1-2 clicks and that's it. But 3 or 4 is just too much. And I guess for me, I was so used to, and so was Brandon, so used to the previous UI design of Tesla infotainment in that touchscreen that we were kind of shocked, to be honest. I'm like, whoa, this is way different than what we're used to.
Yes.
I'm sure over time we would totally get used to how this UI is, but upon first impression, we really wanted the old UI back.
Yes, yeah, I definitely did. And to touch on it, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering if we did get a chance to experience Autopilot. In terms of like genuine car shopping, both Tyler and I are car enthusiasts. We like to drive the vehicle, so Autopilot and some of the self-driving features are not very high up on our requirement list. And we'll be very honest, we did not try to experience that today just because we didn't want to. Not saying that it might interest us in the future, especially as we go across the country, with like lane keep assist and some of those features. But if we were to price out a vehicle, it would not have full self-driving because it's, one, not ready yet, and also, two, we like to drive. So I think we'll probably keep that to the side when it comes to ordering a vehicle, if it does get to that. Yeah. But before we wrap up this video, we definitely want to talk about our experiences with the Model 3. We've had an opportunity to experience a 2019 Model 3 through our friend Alex Sibla. Shout out to him. Definitely go check out his YouTube channel. And then a 2021 Tesla Model 3 through our friend Andrew, who just picked his up back in August. And both of those vehicles have different features. The 2019 has the original interior, and then the 2021 has a revamped interior. And the one thing I will say is that the 2021 Model 3 that we sat in, you could definitely tell that they improved the build quality. It definitely felt solid. Not to say that Alex's 2019 doesn't feel solid, but the additions to some of like the center console and some of the material changes,
it's a lot nicer.
It is a lot nicer, and you can tell that Tesla definitely put a lot of thought into the Model 3 revamp. But I think you'd probably agree that the Model 3 it's nice that it's a sedan and you definitely get those lower, to the ground driving aspects. But in terms of practicality, what are your thoughts with the Model 3?
Knowing our 2 dogs are going to be in that back seat, there was one in the showroom that we looked at, which was a beautiful red. Tesla makes a beautiful red, but in sitting in the back seat again, I realized it's not going to work for us. As much as I want a Model 3, I'm not an SUV person at all. I prefer sedans, hatchbacks, wagons. That's just my take. But, kind of looking at them back and forth, I prefer the Model Y because I know our dogs are going to be back there. We need more storage. We need more room for them. If I'm going to sit in the back seat with them on this journey, I need to be able to sit back there comfortably. And the Model 3 was just... It's good for 2 people, I think, and I think it would be good for us on just a normal day-to-day basis. But for traveling, we need that extra room and that extra storage, and the Model Y definitely has that. Yeah,
and it definitely goes back to the aspect that we talked about in the Ioniq 5, and that being a smaller vehicle than what we were thinking. For like a day-to-day vehicle, the Model 3 is perfect. It definitely fits the mold for a lot of different drivers, and that's why our friends Alex and Andrew thoroughly love their vehicles, is because it does bring them a lot of features that make their driving experience better. But with us car shopping, we need to be mindful of what can get us cross-country in all aspects. And sadly, that does kind of force us to sacrifice some of the things that we like. But I think we're coming to the terms that we can't get everything that we want out of a vehicle. No. And that's okay. All these vehicles offer a lot of different things. But overall, the Tesla Model Y and the Model 3 would be fantastic daily vehicles and travel vehicles. I mean, they're fantastic travel vehicles. but we kind of have to think of what can get us across the country. Yes. And maybe we could get a Model Y and then sell it when we get to the West Coast to get a Model 3. But maybe.
We could.
Yeah.
We could. We might just have to get a roof box for the Model 3, just so we can fit everything.
Yes. But overall, you know, to kind of dive back into the research that we've done, it's mainly come from just being very familiar with the brand and experiencing Teslas for going on almost 7 years. So, you know, just really getting a chance to experience this brand from the Model S to the X to the 3 and now the Y. It's just been really kind of an easy transition, and that's one great thing that Tesla has to offer is that their ecosystem between their vehicles and the charging experience and just overall general ownership experience literally bleeds into each other, and it really makes it simple. And another big perk is that the sales staff at these showrooms are no pressure. They're not based on commission, and you know, when you walk in, they just genuinely want to teach you about the vehicles, get you on a test drive, and see how it went. And that is one big pro. And you get the car at the price. There's no markups unless Tesla changes their prices, which they tend to do randomly. So.
So we're crossing our fingers that between now and our decision and or our placement of our order, there are no markups, or no additional, I should say, markups on the Model Y or Model 3.
Yeah, the price changes.
So hopefully there's no price changes, period, between now and then, because obviously the Model Y is a lot more expensive than the Model 3.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And now to do a recap of where we're at in terms of like the vehicles that we are driving, the Model Y is at the top of our price point, starting at around like $58,000. Very top. And then obviously you have the Model 3. We would go for the long range version, so we would get the all-wheel drive as well as the 358 miles of EPA estimated range, which starts at a little over $50,000. And then obviously you have your Mach-E and then the Ioniq 5, which kind of between $40,000 and $60,000 is kind of where we're looking right now.
Yeah, 60 is definitely really pushing it.
Yeah,
I would say like, you know, 55 is kind of 50 to 55 is kind of the sweet spot for, you know, a lot of these cars. Obviously, if we pick the Model Y, that we're gonna have to pick the most basic color, or the cheapest color and the cheapest wheel option.
Yes.
With the Model Y.
Yep. And then one other con that we want to talk about is availability as well, similar to the Mach-E with the chip shortage, but with the Model Y and the Model 3 with Giga Austin, or the Gigafactory in Austin, Texas coming online. They are manufacturing the Model Y, I would hope, fairly quickly, but the only thing is that delivery time at the moment, depending on which vehicle you get in terms of color as well as like other options, we're currently looking at an August 2022 delivery date. And it's February right now, and the Bolt will be bought back any day now, and we will then go down to a one-car family until we figure out what we're doing. But that's months out. And then the latest that we could get a vehicle would be December 2022.
Which is really late.
Yeah. Unless a canceled order pops up and there's a vehicle in inventory, it's just at the moment the time frame or the time window is a little unrealistic for what we're looking for. But we'll see what happens. Yeah. You know, we were told at the showroom if we are looking to put in the reservation right now. And then that way, if something does pop up, they will call us immediately, and then we could, if we wanted to, move forward with that. But that's just one downside to a very popular vehicle.
Yes.
But, you know, with that being said, you know, we definitely have a good list going of vehicles that we've experienced, and I definitely think that we have our work cut out for us with choosing which vehicle we're going to go for. But if you like this video, make sure you like and share with your friends. And as always, please consider subscribing to Everyday EV. We definitely really appreciate all the support. And as always, take care, stay safe, and
make every day electrifying.
And one other thing I just want to say, because that was a terrible ending. If you have any recommendations of other vehicles that we should add to our list, let us know in the comment section.
Yeah,
and let us know if there's anything that we should be looking for with the Model Y and Model 3 as well. So anyways, we'll wrap up now, and we'll see you in the next one.